Nortel Networks, once one of Canada's most successful technology firms, collapsed in 2009 following years of mismanagement, ethical failures, and poor accountability systems. This presentation illustrates Nortel's downfall through the lens of results-based leadership, RBL, and transformational servant leadership, TSL frameworks. While RBL focuses on aligning measurable outcomes with strategic purpose, TSL emphasizes ethical service, empowerment, and empathy as foundations for sustainable success. Using these models, this paper analyzes Nortel's leadership practices, governance failures, and organizational culture. It identifies how the lack of transparency, employee empowerment, and ethical accountability undermined both performance and trust. The study concludes by offering actionable strategies for integrating RBL and TSL principles into modern organizational systems, emphasizing the importance of ethical measurement, servant governance, and continuous learning to sustain long-term value creation. Nortel Networks was once a global telecommunications giant and a symbol of Canadian innovation. Founded in 1895 as the Northern Electric and Manufacturing Company, it grew into a multinational enterprise that shaped the global communication infrastructure. By the late 1990s, Nortel employed over 90,000 people across 150 countries and contributed nearly one-third of the total valuation of the Toronto Stock Exchange. However, within a decade, Nortel's legacy crumbled under leadership scandals, accounting fraud, and an absence of ethical accountability systems. The company filed for bankruptcy in 2009, leaving thousands unemployed and investors devastated. The presentation shows Nortel's leadership practices through an RBL and TSL perspective, identify gaps that led to its failure, and propose strategies for future organizations to avoid similar pitfalls. By reflecting on this case, business leaders can learn how integrating measurement with ethical and servant leadership principles can produce sustainable results. At its height, Nortel Networks was a world leader in optical, wireless, and internet communication systems. The company's vision was to connect the world through innovation, and its mission emphasized driving technological advancement through research and development. Yet, despite its technical excellence, Nortel's operational success depended heavily on volatile market expectations rather than intrinsic performance. Performance in Nortel's context can be understood across 4 dimensions. 1. Financial integrity. Nortel's leadership primarily measured performance through quarterly earnings and share prices. This narrow financial focus encouraged manipulation of results rather than genuine value creation. The second, innovation outcomes. The company invested heavily in R&D but failed to commercialize innovations effectively due to poor coordination and leadership instability. Third, employee engagement. Rapid growth and frequent layoffs eroded employee trust. Many talented employees left, taking with them institutional knowledge. And fourth, customer satisfaction. Nortel's reputation for reliability declined as the company's financial troubles disrupted service and delivery. Unlike organizations that use structured frameworks such as the balanced scorecard, Nortel had no formal mechanism for aligning employee performance, customer outcomes, and financial accountability. This lack of integration meant that decisions were reactive and often based on short-term gains rather than sustainable development. Nortel's leadership failed in a number of areas. From 1997 to 2003, Nortel's executives engaged in aggressive accounting practices to inflate earnings and trigger performance bonuses. The company's top management prioritized shareholder optics over ethical reporting, ultimately leading to a major accounting scandal in 2003. The lack of transparent measurement systems fostered a culture where success was defined by stock prices rather than meaningful business results. Nortel had immense technical and human capacity for change, but its leadership lacked the moral and strategic discipline to harness it. Before its collapse, the company had strong R&D infrastructure, global market access, and high intellectual capital. However, its internal systems were fragmented, and leadership instability hindered consistent progress. These were some of Nortel's barriers to change. The first was short-term focus. Executive decisions were driven by stock market performance rather than sustainable innovation. The second was resistance to transparency. Leaders resisted open reporting, fearing investor backlash. The third was weak leadership development. Few initiatives existed to train or mentor future leaders in ethical or transformational competencies. And the fourth was employee disengagement. Frequent restructuring led to uncertainty, reducing motivation and innovation. These are 7 recommended results-based leadership strategies. The first is to implement the balanced scorecard framework, align organizational strategy with measurable goals in financial, customer, internal process, and learning domains. This ensures a balanced view of performance. The second, adopt results-based budgeting link every expenditure to a measurable objective such as innovation success rate, customer retention, or employee engagement. The third recommendation is to develop an ethical leadership accountability framework. Require leaders to complete quarterly self-assessments and peer evaluations based on transparency, empathy, and service to others. The fourth is to strengthen corporate governance, establish independent audit committees with a mandate to oversee ethics and stakeholder accountability. The fifth would be to enhance emotional intelligence training, incorporate Goleman's emotional intelligence competencies, self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills into leadership development programs. The sixth would involve creating learning and reflection systems, introduce results reflection meetings where teams review data, identify lessons, and celebrate progress. This integrates evidence-based learning with relational leadership. The seventh is to promote stakeholder engagement, invite customer and community representatives into strategic planning to maintain alignment with broader social values. By applying these strategies, organizations can move beyond compliance-based management to purpose-driven performance. Thank you, Ken. Tenonkiyu.